It's a question that poets have obsessed over for centuries, empires have literally risen and fallen because of it, and let's be honest, every single one of us has probably spent a sleepless night or two trying to figure it out.
So yeah, today we're going for it. We're tackling the big one. The question that is somehow the simplest thing in the world and also the most impossibly complex. What really is love?
Because as soon as you try to pin it down, it just disappears, right? It slips right through your fingers, just like smoke. It's just too big, too messy, and honestly, a lot of the time it feels like a total contradiction. So is it a madness, a biological trick, or is it something we actually choose to do?
Okay, so here's the plan. We're not just going to ask the question and leave it there. Nope. We are going to take this universal mystery apart, piece by piece. We're going to look at it through a few different lenses to see what really makes it tick.
Let's start with what's happening under the hood. Our first lens, it's pure biology. Because for all the poetry about the heart, science tells us the real action, well, it's a pretty powerful chemical cocktail that's brewing up in your brain.
So this whole process seems to break down into three main stages. First up, you've got lust. That's driven by your basic hormones, testosterone and estrogen. Pretty straightforward. Then comes attraction. Now this is where it gets interesting. Your brain gets flooded with dopamine and norepinephrine. That's the stuff that makes your heart race and makes you feel like you can't think about anything else. And then you get to attachment. This is where hormones like oxytocin, people call it the cuddle hormone, and vasopressin kick in, creating that long-term, stable, secure connection.
And this is such a great way to think about the difference, right? That attraction high feels like fireworks. It's obsessive, it's intense, it's literally a natural high. But the attachment bond, that's the foundation of a house. It's calm, secure, and built to last. And let's face it, you can't build a life just on fireworks. They're amazing, but they burn out.
Okay, so we've got the chemicals, but what do we build with them? Let's switch lenses now, from biology to psychology. Think of it this way. If those chemicals are the raw materials, the bricks and mortar, then this next part is the actual blueprint, the architecture of the relationship.
And we've got this fantastic blueprint from a psychologist named Robert Sternberg. He came up with this idea that love isn't just one single thing. Instead, he saw it as a structure, built on three core pillars. Intimacy, that's the closeness, the feeling of really being seen and understood. Then there's passion, the fire, the romance. And finally, commitment, which is the conscious decision to stick with it.
And this is the really cool part. It's all about the mix. How these three pillars combine defines the kind of love you have. For example, if you only have passion, that's what he calls infatuation, a classic fling. But what if you have intimacy and commitment, but the passion is kind of faded? That's companionate love. Think of that deep, comfortable bond in a 50-year partnership. The goal, the one he called consummate love, is when you have all three pillars standing strong together. But here's the thing. We try to stuff all of this, infatuation, friendship, long-term bonds, into one little four-letter word, love. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. You know who had a better system? The ancient Greeks. They didn't have one word for love. They had a whole bunch.
First up, there was Eros. This is the one we all know from the movies. It's that fire, that passionate, almost reckless desire. It's thrilling, it's powerful, but the Greeks were wise to it. They knew it was also super volatile and could burn itself out fast if that's all you had.
Then you have Philia, and this is a totally different kind of warmth. It's not about fire, it's about the deep, profound connection of friendship. It's that soul-level bond you have with someone who's your equal, who you know no matter what has your back.
And finally, there was Agape. And for many, this was the highest form of love there is. It's totally selfless, completely unconditional. And what's key here is that it's not really a feeling that hits you. It's an action. It's a choice you make to give and care for someone else without expecting a single thing back.
Okay, so we've looked at the biology, the psychology, and even the philosophy of the ancient Greeks. After seeing it through all these different lenses, where does that leave us? What's the big takeaway here?
I think it really all boils down to one fundamental question, doesn't it? Is love something that just happens to you, like getting struck by lightning, this involuntary chemical reaction you can't control? Or is it something you do, something you have to wake up and actively build every single day?
And I think this quote from M. Scott Peck just nails it. He said, "Love is a verb. It is an act of will. It's not just about what you feel, it's about what you do. At the end of the day, love is as love does. Simple as that."
So, Let's try to put it all together. Here's our unified theory. Love starts as that biological spark, right? The chemistry that pulls you in. Then it's built into a psychological bond, that structure of intimacy and commitment that keeps you close. But maybe the most important part is this. It's a daily, conscious choice to make another person's happiness a real priority.
So in the end, it's not one thing, it's all of them. It's the chemical madness, it's the psychological structure, it's a philosophical ideal, and it's a daily action. All of it, rolled into one incredibly beautiful, incredibly messy, and profoundly human experience.
And maybe that's the only definition we need, that it's this big, messy, wonderful combination. But hey, that's just my take after going through the material. I'm curious, what's yours?